Today we've got the brand new Rlaarlo CT8A transmitter on the bench, and if this thing delivers what it's promising, this could easily be the best budget transmitter you can get today. Let's take a closer look. This is the CT8A transmitter. It is an 8-channel transmitter with a color screen, a bunch of different battery options, adjustments you don't see on transmitters that cost twice this much, and some really cheap and fully featured receivers. This is the Rlaarlo manual. It actually seems to be pretty well made. A lot of the manuals that come with these cheap transmitters barely even exist. This one's actually got some good information in it. This is the receiver that comes with it. It's an 8-channel dual antenna model. It does have telemetry, including the ability to detect battery voltage on your RC. And that telemetry can be displayed on this display. This transmitter also boasts one-handed steering, as well as claimed ball bearings inside. We're going to take this thing apart and take a look at those ball bearing claims here in just a minute. The transmitter does feel actually pretty good in the hand. It's got a nice foam wheel on it, and one of the greatest features is it has the ability to run off of AA's, a 2S LiPo with a balance port connector, so you don't have to deal with any kind of special connectors, and you can run it off an 18650 battery. That 18650 can be charged off of this USB-C connection, so that's really convenient. You've got a lot of options for powering this transmitter. This transmitter also has the ability to let you adjust the spacing on the trigger, so you can move the front of the trigger in or out to suit your preference. And it has a tension adjustment right here for the trigger. Crank this down, and it puts more tension on the spring for the trigger, crank it out, and it puts less tension on there. That's a lot of really nice customization, and if you haven't had the ability to do this before, you might be surprised at how nice it is. Before we turn this thing on, let's take a look inside. All right, hopefully I'm not about to get a pile of springs in the face. All right, here we go. You can see that 18650 compartment. Looks like some charging circuitry here. We've got a little coin cell vibrator. Looks like all the brains are up here at the top. Let's pull this trigger off and see about those ball bearings. All right, this trigger is a nice little self-contained unit. There is a potentiometer on here, so this is potentiometer based and not Hall effect sensor based. I wouldn't expect to see a Hall effect sensor on such a cheap transmitter, but it is something to keep in mind that over time these can wear out. You can see the tension adjustment here, and then if you look down in there, right down in the top, you can see the little ball bearings in there. So this is definitely a ball bearing unit, which is going to provide a nice smooth action. And I expect the wheel is also going to be a ball bearing unit. You can see here that the antenna is located right here. If you were doing really long range stuff, you could take this antenna out and probably get more range out of it. Let's get this back together, see what that screen looks like. Before we turn this on, let me show you the rest of the controls. We have a 3-position switch here, a momentary push button here, and then 4 momentary push buttons here to control the rest of the channels. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 channels on this transmitter. I'm going to be using this little 2S LiPo. Like I said, you plug the balance connector right into the transmitter, which means you don't need to worry about any strange connectors. Before we turn it on, let's get a peel. Nice. All right, first power up. Neat. Okay, so what we can see here is we've got the model listed here, a timer, your battery level. This is going to be your receiver strength. It's showing nothing right now because we don't have a receiver turned on. Here's the voltage for the transmitter. This is receiver voltage. Again, we have nothing here because we don't have it turned on. This is also receiver strength. Channels 1 and 2 show you the throw of those channels. And then we've got the rest of the channels listed here. Going into the menu, the first menu is model. Let's see how many models we have. Okay, looks like it's limited to 8 models. Unfortunately, that is not very many. It'll probably be enough for many people, but I would really like to see more models than that because that's kind of an artificial limitation and it's just sad to see in today's day and age. Now, I'm not gonna go through every single menu here, but I'll give you a quick overview. For the channels, we've got reversing, remapping, defining the buttons, defining the ranges. We can set different mixes and curves. This is the binding menu that allows you to do all the different binding options. And then we've got system menu that allows you to do calibration, change the timers, set the battery type, LCD brightness, sleep timer, etc. So overall, this appears to be a fairly fully featured system, especially for the price you're paying for it. Of course, all those fancy features don't mean anything if it doesn't work well, so let's get this receiver stuck in my brand new MT410 2.0. We'll do a range check, and then we're gonna do some bashing. Now, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you get subscribed because we do these kinds of videos here all the time, and you're not gonna wanna miss what we've got coming in the future. Today's test subject is gonna be this beautiful new Techno MT410 2.0. If you haven't seen the build and bash video on this, definitely check it out after this one. It's pretty fun. I'm going to be just stuffing these antennas inside the receiver box. This is what I normally do with my receivers. If it has good range with these stuffed in the box, it'll definitely have good range with one of them out in the actual antenna tube. This receiver has an interesting option for battery telemetry where you can just plug these pins into the negative and most positive pins on your balance connector, and that will give you battery telemetry. Long term, I'm not sure I would use this. This will be fine for testing, but if you're going to have this installed in a vehicle long term, I'd recommend hardwiring it into your battery connector. All right, first fire up, and you can see we have the RSSI percentage, reception level, and the battery voltage right here. That's really handy to have. The RSSI is really low right now because I've got the transmitter and the receiver very close to each other, and that causes some weird interference. As soon as I move the receiver away from the transmitter, that's going to go up. Let's see how responsive the steering feels. That feels pretty good. As you can see right now, the RSSI is 100%. We'll keep track of that as we go. 99%, 85%. Okay, that's about as far as I feel comfortable going. As you can see here, the RSSI is still showing about 60%, so that's pretty good. Let's bring it back. All right, so even with the antennas inside the receiver box, this thing's got plenty of range. It still had plenty of range to go, even when I could barely even see the car anymore. So that's not gonna be a problem with this transmitter. Let's go do some bashing. So there we go, guys. Overall, I really like this transmitter. It's got great features, 8 channels. The ball bearing, steering, and throttle feel really nice. You've got nice adjustability for the throttle and brake feel. Overall, it's a decent feeling transmitter. The screen is nice and clear. The battery options are fantastic. You've got the ability to use a 2S LiPo. Again, you get to use the balance connector, so you don't have to use any weird connectors. You can also use AA's if you want to, and you have the option for an 18650 battery. There's only a couple things I don't like about it. The first one is there doesn't appear to be any dedicated trim button, so you have to go into the menu system to trim it. Not a big deal because you don't really trim that often, but it is something that most transmitters have that this one appears to be lacking. Let me know if I missed something on here with that though. The second one for me is there's no dedicated camera mounting system on here. Personally, I need to be able to put a camera on here. That might not be a problem for you. Now that being said, this thing is cheap. Right now it's 40 bucks. That price is supposed to be going up, but who knows if that's actually going to happen. And for that 40 bucks, you get a really capable transmitter that has a lot of options, a lot of features. You also get a really good receiver with telemetry. And overall, I think for the price, this transmitter is really hard to beat. Let me know what you think about this. Is this something you're going to be interested in picking up? Do you think there's a better transmitter value out there right now? I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on it. Once you're done giving me your thoughts, if you enjoyed the video, get subscribed, then go ahead and check out this video.